Hello everybody, welcome to my corner of the world and welcome to my Sunday live. It's November the 12th today. Already nearly halfway through November. It's quite scary, isn't it? Anyway, I've got you all lined up now, and with any luck at all, everything should be working. So if you happen to be joining me today, maybe you'll go ahead and put something in the live chat box on that right hand side, and we'll think about what we're going to do today. So as always, my Sunday lives is starting with an idea and developing it during my live video here. And today I started thinking about using up some scraps. Now I've been working with a project that used this decorative paper, and these are some scraps, and if you know me, you know I'm not very good at throwing away scraps. Little pieces like this maybe, but big pieces like this, it breaks my heart to do that. It's because I figure there must be something I can do with it. Now this paper comes from Them Bones decorative paper pack, which was or is in the current mini catalogue, and it's, as you can see, it's kind of a Halloween themed set of papers, but there's this one here, and then this other one, where did it go, here, that are fairly plain and, if you like, non-Halloweeny. And since Halloween's now behind me, but I've still got, you can still see I've still got a few bits of paper left. Mainly I've got 2 full sheets I need to think about what to do with, but then the rest is mainly scraps. So I thought I would just go ahead and see what we could do with these. Now on the back, if you look on the back, it had tombstones on it, so we'll only be using the one side, and because it's a plaid, as they say here in the States, we call it tartan in the UK, I thought, well, let's make a good die card. So we've got some scraps there that we're going to work with, and then I've got this stamp set and with the coordinating dies, and owls. Well, Brian, my husband, has a particularly soft spot for owls, and so when I saw this in the catalogue, I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and get it, and so I did make a birthday card for him with it, but I thought I would go ahead today and share this one with you. So it is a rubber based stamp, and as you can see, it's got some lovely bird or owl images and some nice words. Oh, and this, I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of got like little sort of stars and circles, so it's got a splodgy stamp. And I do like stamp that you can fill in the background with little splodges, so that's a good one. And then the dies, so there's dies to coordinate with the birds. So for instance, this one goes with this bird, and this one goes with this, and then this one goes with this bird, and there's a little circle to cut out the moon, and then we've got some nice branchy pieces, and then this trunk. I'm going to try and see if I can do something with this trunk today. So I'm going to pull that one out, and I'm going to use my little thing there. And then there's this bird, this owl, and this owl, if you look, is got embossing in it as well. And I've not tried this one, so I'm quite interested in seeing what comes of it. And it can be used just as it is, but there is this, and you can see I'm still struggling to get them off. They're like, well, they're like wing extensions. They're sort of feathery bits. Again, I'm not quite sure how they work, but we're gonna work it out together. I think that probably it kind of goes like that. I think that's what happens, but we're going to see how it works. Right, so I've pulled out some card colours that coordinate with this paper, and so I've pulled out Basic Black, Pumpkin Pie and Cajun Craze. So those are the colours that are in this paper. And so if we're going to start with a base card. If anybody's got any particular choice, maybe you'll go ahead and pop it in the chat there, just to see if you've got a particular preference for Cajun Craze, Pumpkin Pie or Black. I mean, all the colours are going to be in here as well. Now, the other thing is, as always, it does take a few moments for any comments to come through my feed. So I'll give you a few moments. I did pull out some embellishments that may or may not work, that we can use. And what else? Oh, this is the other thing. Now these are metallic enamel, and there's like a copper, a gold and a silver. Now I have used the copper quite a lot, but these not so much, and I've used these like to a tiny little dot on a card to create sort of a metallic pearl. But I was playing with some ideas earlier today, and I think I'm going to share those with you a little bit later on an alternative way of using those enamel effects. Right, so let's see. So I'm thinking that maybe I'm going to do my card base with Cajun Craze. It's such a lovely rich colour. So there's my starting point. And when I look at this, I've got a little, where's my little sample thing? I have got this kind of card. This is just a piece of scratch card that I use as sort of a template, so that when I'm thinking about designing a card, I think, okay, what I want to do, is it going to fit on the card? I mean, that sort of seems to me to be a basic starting point. So so I'm thinking, well, if that would fit that way, but I'm not, will this bird fit this way? I think it might, or would I prefer to have a landscape card? Now that won't fit, but I can always trim it. Can you see, look, this has got embossing on it as well. That's going to be pretty. That's going to be very effective if I can work it in. Okay, right. Let's see. Well, for no other reason, I'm just going to cut this piece of cardstock in half like that, and I'll just put a score in it at 5.5. So this is 11. Let's take this up out the way. This is now 11 by 4.25, and I'm just going to put a score in at 5.5. All right. So there's my starting point. And then I've got my scraps. So somehow I need to work some scraps into this. Now, this is, I think this is just a smudge over 2 inches. Right. I'm going to make a layer. I'm going to do a layer for this. So I think black will give it a nice pop. So if I do this, if I make this like 2, I've just made that just over 2.25. So that gives me quite a nice base there. And then, so this is going to be 4, that's 4.25, so this needs to be 4. Right, so that gives me that piece. And then if I do this 1/4 inch shorter, so that's now 2.25. So now I could maybe do 2 panels like that. No, right. I'm going to trim this off. And so that's 2.25. So if I make this 2.5, so I need to cut this to, so that needs to be 2.5 there, and it's 5.5. So that means I've got to cut 3 inches off. 3 inches. And then I think that would look quite nice like that. Okay. And then we can use that piece like that. So would a flying bird, well, I suppose a flying bird could fly toward the tree. Okay, I'm kind of liking this. Any thoughts? Anybody got any ideas what they'd like? Right, now then. I think I'm only going to use 2 colours of card. Right, so I know that that's 3 inches, so this can be 2 3/4. I'm looking at a layer to go on here. You've probably guessed, I love layers. I just do love layers in my cards. So I'll cut this 1/4 of an inch. There's just something special about layers. You know, it just gives an extra level of richness. So I've got this going on now. Okay. And since I got my cutter out, let's see. I need an inside so that I can write my To You Love From Me. And I'm going to use vanilla. So I'm going to use 4 by 5 1/4. And that then can go inside. I've just had another thought. Oh dear. And so that's 4 inches by, and I'm going to cut a 3/4 inch strip. So let's move the stuff I'm not using out of the way. And see where we are with what we've got. Now I'm thinking that I can put a strip like that, and then that will balance that out as well and use a bit more scrap. And then I can put this here with this, and then I can put my bird on, and maybe that. Right, okay, let's get some of these bits stuck down so I don't lose them. Right. I'm not going to do that bit just yet. Okay, anybody got any thoughts, ideas, questions, suggestions that they'd like to... Oh, okay, so I've managed to let this dry out. So I've got a pin here that I just pop in the top, give it a wiggle, and then that should all come out really nicely. There you go. Sometimes a little glue, if I forget to put the lid on, a little of the glue will just dry in the tip there. But a pin rather will do it to it. Right. That is sort of the front of the card done. All right, now then, I can stick that piece on, but I might want to do a bit of stamping in a minute. So I'm not going to stick this into the card just yet. I'll just leave that to dry up, or to harden up. Can you see where I'm going with that? I think that looks quite nice. Maybe if you agree, you could give me a thumbs up there. Right, and so we've got these pieces now. Okay, so let us do some cutting here. Right, so I'm going to be able to use my mini cutter today. So I'm going to be using the white base plate, and a number 2, and then we'll need another number 2 here as well. And it looks like I've moved it. There we go, I use this one. Now, this one's got a crack in it, but I think it's still usable, so we'll see how that goes. Right, so we'll start with my little bird. Of course, that is a bit too wide. Let's see if I've got another piece that will work. Okay, so let's do that. That's there, and then we're just going to pop this one on the top like that. Make sure everything is square, then crank. And I'm going to go a bit slow because then that will allow all that lovely detail I'm anticipating is there will come out. There we are. So where's my little brush? There it is. So some of these are embossed and some of them cut through, so probably needed to do a little shim underneath the but these are all coming out nicely. But we'll see that all looks, that's like his plumage. And if I could just remember, oh there it is, just give those a little poke out and then scrape them off with my nail at the back. Right, so note to self, when I do the next bit I have to put a little bit of a shim in there. Right, so looking at that, let's look against the black. I think that's going to look pretty, you know, a really good effect. Right, well, let's go ahead and cut these. So I'm going to 1, 2. And while I remember, I need to put a little shim in there, and I'm going to use a bit of scrap card to just pop underneath here like that, and then I'll put this on like that and slide that through, square everything up and then crank. Again, a little bit on the slow side just so that the pressure can cut through the card. There. And let's see what we've got. Oh, did a great job there. Right, so the shim is the way to go for this die on my machine. So every machine is slightly different. So you would need to test yours just to make sure. There we go. Right, and lastly, I was just going to get a piece of last little bit of die cutting for now, I think. We'll see how this works later. I thought I would go ahead and see if I like this tree. If I don't, I won't use it. We can use it on something else. Okay, so let's see. I'm not going to need all of it. And get everything lined up and crank it through. There we go. Hey Jan, how are you? I'm glad you've been able to join us. So we're working on using up some scraps with a newer stamp set from the mini with coordinating dies, with a view to creating a card for the fellas in our lives. I don't know if that's going to work for something. Right, so yeah, I'm doing well. My eyesight is as good as it's going to get, so I'm going to have cataract surgery on my right eye in the next few weeks. So not really looking forward to it, but if it means I get my eyesight back to normal, then I'm thrilled. Thrilled skinny, as we would say in the UK. That goes up. Nope. Nope, yep, that goes there. Right. Okay. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. And I need to do something inside. So I'm going to use one of these greetings. Now these greetings are sort of a bit like, not really Christmassy, but sort of more of a Thanksgiving maybe, sending love, warm wishes. So you could always say warm wishes for birthday, can't you? Why not? Warm wishes for a happy, and then write inside for a happy birthday. That would be my thought. Right. And I think one of these cute, oh yes, so you have one on your left eye, not ready for surgery. Yeah, mine was exactly the same, not ready for surgery for some considerable time. My left eye is not going to need one for quite a few years, but after I had my retina reattached back in July, they told me that it would accelerate my cataract development, and that I would have that to look forward to. How lovely was that? So I go to see the guy on Thursday for the evaluation, and to be honest, I'm hoping to get it done before Christmas, and so I can don't have to think about it over Christmas. It'll be all done and dusted. My husband had his done a couple of years ago, and he said, oh, he said it's a doddle. And I'm sure it is, but it's still somebody sort of messing with your eyes. And since I went through that in the summer, yeah, just a little bit nervous about it. But hey, if my eyesight comes back to normal, then I will be absolutely delighted. And did they? Oh gosh, you know, many years ago we had a family dog who had detached retina, and I'm talking about like in the 80s. So, you know, they never did anything obviously for animals, but when it happened to me, the first thing I thought about was that dog. I thought to myself, just can't be, it just cannot be. Right, now then. Oh, she's got perfect eyes. Well, that makes me feel a lot better. I had 20/20 vision, and it just, well, it's just like sort of looking through, you know, it's like opening your eyes under the water when you go swimming. It's just all, it's horrid. Okay, so let me think. I need a little bit of paper here because I don't want to get on there. So I'm going to put this to the far side. Let's see, am I in shot? Hopefully I am. Right, so there's my tree trunk. Right, that's that bit done. And that's sticky, I need to get rid of that before it goes to something else that it shouldn't. Okay, I'm going to stick this down now. And then I'm going to attach it to my card with, here, I'm going to attach it like that. So my warm wishes shows. I'm just going to flip it over and use some dimensionals. How are we doing for time? Oh, just over half an hour. Well, we're doing quite well. And I'm going to put a couple close to the edge, like this. And like that. Okay, so that's that in the right place. Right, so I've got my envelope done, I've got my piece inside, I've got my greeting there, All right, so our final flourish. So it did go through my mind that I should maybe have used adhesive sheet. And then I had another thought immediately to think, well, it's not all of this is actually going to touch the card. So I'm going to add a tiny bead of adhesive just on that inside edge, like that. And then just ooh, that looks very dramatic. What do you think? I'm liking that. Okay, let's give the other one a bit of glue. And then we'll attach it to the other side. And oops, just lining it up with the wing. So what's the weather like in your part of the world, Jan? We dropped about 40 degrees in 24 hours the other day. It was absolutely unbelievable, unbearable as well, to be honest with you. Okay, so there's our little birdie. Now I'm going to share with you what I was playing with earlier today, and we're going to see what we think about this. Right, so these are the enamel effects, and you can use these to make like little metallic pearls, and they're very, very pretty. But they do take a few moments. Well, I say a few moments. It probably takes about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes to actually dry. And you just know that in the meantime, you are going to smear them. And so I haven't used them as much as I could or should. Sunny today, about 4 degrees, so it's warmed up a little. Good, good. So this is what I was playing with earlier today. Right, so I got me a block and an old paintbrush, because I wasn't quite sure whether or not I would ruin my paintbrush. So I got an old paintbrush and some card. Where's my card? Bit of card gone to practice on. Oh, I can use some of this. Right. And this is what I did with it. I painted it. So I just painted it onto the card, and it dried in a few moments. And I thought, well, that's another use for this. So I've got the silver. Well, the silver doesn't really show up, but it does give a really nice sheen. And then the gold here, and then the copper. And I think I want to paint these pieces. So I'm going to use the gold, I think, because it's more subtle. So let me show you what I did. So again, I just put a splodge on my my block, and then I just worked it down a little bit just to sort of spread it and not it so it's not quite such a gloop. I think that must be a technical term, is gloop. Okay. And then I just use my paintbrush to smear it on my paper. Now, I'm not so sure that on cream, on the white it looked a bit outstanding, and that is just a sheen. So now, then I had to think, well, what am I going to do to clean my brush? So I got some rubbing alcohol in an egg cup, and I just swished it around like that, and then with a piece of kitchen paper towel I just sort of cleaned it off like that and just fluffed it up on the back of my hand, and it worked perfectly. So I am pretty darn chuffed, pleased, delighted to realise that actually this is quite a good idea. Now, my next thought, well, maybe if I let it down with some rubbing alcohol, then that would give me more of a paint. And this is what I got, and I wasn't quite as happy with that. So I'm gonna use it neat. So let's see what it looks like on the copper. Okay, right, so copper or gold? Anybody got any vote? Look, there we go. Anybody got an opinion there? Because I would appreciate that. Right. So while I'm waiting to see if you got an opinion, maybe I'll mix those two bits together and see what we get there. All right. So, okay, so that's the mixed one. Gold is more subtle. Okay, we can go for more subtle. So there, I've just cleaned my brush off. I'm going to take my brush and swoosh it on my block on that to get that excess off. And there, just clean my brush again. So I'm pretty pleased with finding another use for my enamel. I always buy the 91% rubbing alcohol because it evaporates quicker, and if you're using it on paper or something like that, it's less likely to make your paper go soggy. All right, so let's do this. Okay. So I'm going to put a little bit on the tips of the original wings, and then on this. I'm sure, you know, these extra fluffy wing bits, I wonder, they might make an interesting card. Maybe sort of a bit like angel wings, or what can I say? Maybe like for a christening card, or maybe a sympathy card. think you're right, Jan, you know, now I've got it on here, I think that that gold is going to be more than enough. Just to make sure it doesn't get lost when we put it on our card base. What do you think? Yeah, I'm really liking that. I think I need a bit more. Right, so I need to think of a project that I can show my ladies in my monthly card class that I do, because I'm sure that they would be very interested in having another way of using these enamel dots, or these enamel bits. Yes, I hope my head's not in the way here. I'm just desperately trying to keep it out and be able to see what I'm doing as well. Okay. Nearly there. Now I'm thinking that, you know, while I've sort of got this thinking about using this as a birthday card, if you did the right colours, you know, it would make a really nice, if you like, neutral Christmas card. And by that I mean sort of not necessarily like a religious overtones, and not like traditional, just sort of using a bit of holly and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm gonna clean up my brush, clean up my block. I'm thinking if you don't clean your brush and your block quickly, then you've probably got some problems, and your brush and your block aren't going to work as well as they should. So let's get my brush done, and then that gives that a few moments to dry. Right, so we're all good. Let's just clear the mess. And I think we're going to do him like that. Now let's see, have I got some minis? No, but I do have some edge pieces. So I'm going to use some edge pieces. Right, so now we've got to put them where they won't be seen, but they will have, they will support the little birdie. So some of this has come off a bit, it's come through. Right, so we put a let's put one down there. And then we'll put there, and then maybe we'll put some here on his shoulder. Now, let's see, so if he's going to go like this, like that, I can put one underneath that wingtip, like that. And I can put one a little way down on that wingtip, like this. Right, let's get these unravelled. Right, where's my pokey tool? these edge pieces aren't behaving themselves very well today. Oh, maybe we can. Oh, not quite sure. My fingers are not working as well as they could. There we go. Right, so we just go ahead and pop him back a bit so he doesn't go outside the footprint of the card. There we go. Now just a final little bit, little flourish. I've got these. I think I might use these rustic metallic because I managed to get a little bit of gold paint, oh, just there. Maybe I just need to cover it up. Like that. Okay. So there we have our card, and we've just bring it up a little slower so that you can see and get the effect of that lovely gold paint on those wings. So there's our card, and we use the Winter Owls stamp set with the dies, and we use some scraps from a Halloween paper pack. Well, I thank you, Jan. I'm glad you like it. I got to find someone to send it to now. So if you've enjoyed the video, perhaps you'll go ahead, give me a thumbs up. And if you don't already subscribe, perhaps go ahead and do that as well. And I plan to be back again next week with another idea. The weeks go by so fast. I just seem to sort of think of one idea and it's time to think of yet another one. So I will look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for joining me, Jan. I really appreciate it, and appreciate everybody else's time they spent with me today. So bye bye for now, everyone.